Welcome, Barnstormers fans. I'm here with the brand new manager of the Chatham-Kent Barnstormers, Mr. Gil Rondon. Welcome.
Nice to see you, Jeff.
Welcome to the team. Although you're no stranger to the team, you're the pitching coach last year, and now you're the manager. Why don't you give us a brief history of your playing career? Because not everybody knows that.
First organization signed with the Baltimore Orioles. And then from there, from the Orioles, I went to the California Angels, A-ball and AA. And then from the California Angels, I got drafted to the big leagues by the Houston Astros in 1976. And that was my first year in the big leagues in 76.
Do you remember the first batter you faced? Do you remember that encounter in the bigs?
Yeah, J.R. Richards was the starter. He gave up 8 runs in the first inning.
So you came in the first?
Came in the first. First hit I faced was Dave Concepcion. Challenge him, after I threw the first pitch, it was just being at the ballpark. The lines were the same, the only thing was a different place. And after that, it was just like, no problem. But that was my first hitter in the big leagues, Dave Concepcion from the Big Red Machine in 1976.
And what came of that at bat?
Strikeout.
All right, now tell us about your coaching career. Where have you all coached? Have you always been a pitching coach? Is this your first time managing?
No, I started in 1989. I started throwing batting practice for the Mets in the big leagues, and then that year, the general manager, or the minor league director, came down and said, "I'd like to talk to you." So I went up there. He says, "Are you looking for a job?" I said, "Yes." He says, "You want to start coaching with the Mets?" So I said, "Yes." So I started in Kingsport, Tennessee. It was my first coaching job with the Mets. And then the second year, I went back to Kingsport. And after that, I worked for the Toronto Blue Jays. I worked in Medicine Hat for 2 years. 2006, 2009, WBC bullpen coach for Puerto Rico. I've been to 2 amateur World Cups. 1994, I was with the Nicaragua national team in the World Cup. And in 2005, I was the pitching coach for the Chinese Taipei national team.
You have quite the accomplished career then. So how did you get hooked up with Dom, Chatham-Kent, the Barnstormers?
Well, Dom and I worked together in 2003 in Trois-Rivières.
You've obviously spent a lot of time with Dan Norman, not necessarily just with the Barnstormers, but you have a history with him. Mm-hmm. How would you say that your managing styles would differ?
Well, with Danny, I worked with Danny 4 years, 4 different times, including last year. Danny is more of an old school player because the organization he signed with Cincinnati, he came up with Cincinnati. He played in Trois-Rivières when they had those powerhouse teams in AA in the 73, 74, 75. And it's been a difference of the way he managed and the way I would approach it. As a pitching coach, we got off very good because everything I did, I would explain it to him. And if I didn't explain to him, he knew what I was, an idea what I was going to do. And that's the thing where I learned how to accept so far, how to tell the manager. And the same thing with me, he learned that with me. But we worked together, we did very well. Now it's going to be a job that I got to pay attention 100%.
Would you also consider yourself old school, or do you use some of the new school?
No, I go on into new stuff. I gotta tell you, Jeff, when I was a manager in the Frontier League, I have a record as the worst team in professional baseball. I won 6 games and I lost 90 out of 96 games.
That's a tough year.
But it was a big learning experience because in 96 games, I had differences with umpires, but I never got thrown out of the game.
Have you ever been thrown out?
One time in an amateur game in Puerto Rico that I questioned the umpire that how can we keep playing because the light in left field went out. And it was that he was a regular, like the umpires in this league, they have jobs the next day. So he didn't want to wait till late because he had to drive from one side of the island to the other. And I told him, you can't do that. Somebody's going to get hurt. So when I kept just a little on it, he got mad and threw me out. But the moral of the story, we still left at 3 o'clock in the morning. No matter what happened. So you couldn't play because you couldn't see the ball when it would come to left field.
Yeah, absolutely. term you hear a lot in sports today is culture. Different locker rooms, guys are drafting guys based on their work ethic, not necessarily their skill level, because they want to have a locker room of guys who are competitors, who are going to show up, who are going to do the work, who are going to listen. They might not, have a player play for them who's, a big hothead. I know it's different at this level. You're not necessarily doing a draft. Sometimes you just get with the cards that you're dealt. But what kind of culture would you like to build with this team? Anything different from last year?
Well, what I did with the pitchers last year is I had a good rapport with them. And that's what you try to do in this position. You want to make him feel comfortable, but you have to let him know, just like I got a job, you got a job to do. Because when this job that I do, things do not add up, they're not going to send 25 guys home. So I need you guys to leave whatever you bring from your house or from the street in that front door, because he's going to be waiting for you there when the game's over. And when you come in, I want you to give me those 3 hours. If you're willing to come here for 3 hours to leave your wife, your girlfriend, your kids, relatives, give them to me.
So the core of the team is the same. Obviously, we're missing Seth Strong. He'll be missed, right? Big bad. But a lot of the core is the same. We got Spencer Marcus coming back, who was just he was battling for the batting title last year. Fukuda played in Japan on the world stage this year. So we got a lot of good players coming back and some new faces. Have you been in touch with everybody on the team yet? Or
I've talked to a couple of guys, messaging back and forth. I've been here to the gym 2 Saturdays in a row to watch some of the guys and work some of the guys and start throwing out there some of the things that I have about the pitching. The hitting, I have to be a little more because I have an idea, because I've thrown so much batting practice.
Harry mentioned in an interview on YouTube that I saw that last year he had a team full of rookies. Mm-hmm. Now all these players coming into their second year, how much do you think an impact that has, the fact that they are now seeing pitchers for the second time, for a second year? They know what to expect rather than this first time in the league.
It's going to be not a little easier, but another stepping stone to learn faster. Because I talked to them the first Saturday I was here. I said, all you guys now that are 23, in 3 years you're going to be 26. So you're going to be veterans of this league compared to the veterans in the other teams that are 30, 32, 34, 36 that just want to play for fun. So when you guys get to play 5 years in this league, you guys will be 28 years old, still young.
Now last year, I'm going to say, I had expectations to make the playoffs. When you look at the league and the way the playoff format works, 8 of 9 teams, I thought there's a good chance we're going to make the playoffs. I think my goal, and I have nothing to do with that side of baseball, but my goal for this year would be to win a playoff series. What would your goal be?
Well, you have a good thing there, but I want to win a playoff game, and that's going to put us on the move. Last year, when Dominic and Harry went to these meetings, they didn't give us, because of the team we had, young kids, local kids, not very experienced guys, that we could win 3 or 4 games. All that happened in the first half.
Yeah.
I think after the second half, that the ones in the clubhouse believed what we were trying to get them to understand, and they saw what could happen and the things we could do. It changed their mind. So now I'm expecting that, this year, because they're going to be more prepared for that. They're going to be ready for that. So now, just like I have a challenge, they have a challenge, but we already are one step ahead because we were here. We lived through that first half. That first half was, the last week that we played, 10 days, we played 4 out of the best teams in the league, and we beat them, and they were a little nervous, but we were just starting, so we didn't have all the secret weapons they had for the end of July, the beginning of August, like the other teams did. Like when we went to Guelph, this guy comes out of nowhere, and I said, this guy's been around. This guy was a successful pitcher in AAA for 2 years.
Yeah.
A lefty, he just got us out. Then when we went back, the guy that faces here, we had seen him already, so that's a different thing now. So we have to be prepared for that. The secret weapons, Canadian and the secret weapons if we need a foreigner. I don't want to win a playoff. I want to win the first game. Because if I win the first game, then we have reached that second plateau. And now we keep from there to see what happens.
Gil, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.